Chris here, Smart Debt Relief. We are on frequently asked questions Thursday. This is live over here on the Facebook. I couldn't get the Instagram to work because I didn't have the additional camera. So depending on how long it is, I'll be able to put it on the IGTV, but it'll go on Facebook and YouTube on the Chris Cupp platforms and the Smart Debt Relief platforms. So we're going to get into it. So we have a couple questions. I think we have a total of 15 questions. We'll see how many we could get through in this period of time. But just want to give you guys more clarity on the debt settlement process, put these videos out there, and then get any feedback from you guys. If you have any questions, if you have a question on any of the answers that I have, feel free to email us at info@smartdebtrelief.com. I'll put that information in there for you also on the copy of this too. So first question we have is from Fausto. I hope I'm saying that right. I believe it is. Fausto, yep. How bad is my credit when going through debt settlement? The focus of the process isn't credit. So you're not going to be able to qualify for anything when you're going through a debt settlement process. When you're in a financial hardship, you're probably not in a situation where you can qualify for anything right now if you're even asking that question, if you're looking at a debt settlement process. So when you're going through debt settlement, the accounts, they go into default. The credit card companies, the creditors, the personal loan companies, whoever we're going through the process with, they don't negotiate if you're current on your debts. Now, the reason why all the content that I have out there, and you guys can go look at it, it talks about who debt settlement is for. It's when they're in three situations. That situation number one, you don't have any money left over at the end of the month when you're done paying your bills. Number two, you don't have any money in savings. And number three, there's no foreseeable increase in income coming up, which would allow you to pay down your debt. Paying off debt is super practical. It's super easy. I wouldn't say it's easy, but it's practical and simple. How about simple? That's better. You got to either make more money and more income to pay more towards the debt so you can actually pay down the debt, especially with credit cards, because anything above and beyond that minimum payment goes towards the principal balance. Or you got to lower the amount of money you're paying out if you're making the same amount of income, right? So if you're in a situation where you have money left over at the end of the month when you're done paying your bills, put that money towards the debts. If you have money in the bank, put that money towards the debts. If you foresee an increase in income, which a lot of people do, wait till you get that increase in income and then put that extra money towards the debt to pay off the debt. Who debt settlement is for someone in the three situations I just said who doesn't have the ability to put more towards their debt at the end of the month, who doesn't have the ability to take money from the bank and put more towards their debt to pay it off, and who doesn't have the ability or they don't foresee any increase in income to actually pay down the debts. So a debt settlement process for that person is very, very helpful because we can lower the amount of money that's going out on a monthly basis, set them up in a program where we're setting aside the funds to get these debts paid off the next 3 to 4 years through debt settlement. You have to go in the default. The credit is going to be affected. You're not looking to get new debts while you're in the process of debt settlement. The focus is on getting out of debt. So I understand the question, and of course that's the biggest thing that comes up when you're talking about debt settlement to people is how's my credit going to be affected? It's going to be affected. You're not going to be able to use your credit while you're in a debt settlement process. The reality is, like I said before, a lot of people can't use their credit even when they're current on their minimum payments because they're maxed out and they just don't have the financial ability to take on more debt. And a creditor is going to see your situation and say, okay, listen, maxed out on all your credit cards, even though you're making your payments, why would I give you an additional debt? It's just getting you into a worse situation and it's just delaying the inevitable. So so your credit is affected when you're in the process of debt settlement, but it isn't the focus of the program. The focus is to get out of debt and not wait that 15, 20, 25, 30 year period of time just by making minimum payments on your credit card debts, because the credit card companies will allow you to do that. They want you to keep making minimum payments forever. So Fausto, I hope that answered your question. If you need any other questions answered, feel free to send us a question or call us and we'll talk to you. Okay, let's see here. Jimmy, how come the results aren't guaranteed? Great question. When you go to the credit card companies, first and foremost, when you set up the process and, let's just say, for instance, you're current on your debts and you're just barely making minimum payments and you fall behind and you default on the debts, right? The credit card company won't just say, hey, listen, you owe us $10,000, give us $4,000, we'll call it a day. It's a process. First and foremost, you're not going to have $4,000 to give them. So when you're talking to the credit card companies and these creditors that are settling, which they do on a daily basis, they settle all the time, so it's normal for them. The credit card companies don't guarantee results because it's not guaranteed that you're going to have that $4,000. So by setting up in a program and a process that's affordable for you, every single month I'm able to pay $310 a month, whatever that amount is towards the program. We then start reaching out to the creditors. They know that you're in the process. But we start reaching out to them once you have about 20 to 25% of the balance of that debt, so we can start negotiating with them, because sometimes credit card companies take 15, 20, 25% of the balance of that card. It's not guaranteed results because it's not guaranteed that you're going to be able to save those funds towards that debt. And the credit card companies want the lump sum, or sometimes we can negotiate depending, with the credit card companies, we can pit one against each other where we can get one with a term settlement, sometimes if it's a larger account. But at the end of the day, you have to be able to make that payment towards the process so that $4,000 can be paid to the creditor. The credit card companies also don't guarantee the results, and we don't guarantee the results, is because the reality is that we don't understand exactly what happened with that credit card. There's a lot of people out there, believe it or not, that will take a credit card, they'll get the cash advance on the credit card, say it's a $10,000 credit card, Capital One. There's $10,000. I take $10,000 cash advance, so I have the cash, and I don't make a payment towards that debt at all. The credit card company doesn't want to settle with that person. They'll probably need to go through legal remedies because it's not a good situation, right? That person took $10,000, never made a payment towards them, so you just can't guarantee, hey, listen, you took $10,000, now I'm going to give you, settle it for $4,000. Theoretically, they could in the future, but there's just no guaranteed results. The process, of course, there's hundreds of thousands of people that are in debt settlement. I would assume it's close to 1 million people who have actually enrolled into a debt settlement program. They settle billions of dollars, it's billions of dollars. I know it sounds like a lot of money, but you are a very small, I know that this doesn't sound right, but you're very small to a creditor. They don't know you by name. They don't know you, oh, hey, that's Jimmy, I don't know your last name, Jimmy, but that's Jimmy Smith, right? Well, we don't want to settle with him. You're just a number to the credit card companies, unfortunately. This program is focused on you, not the credit card companies. The credit card companies are not on your side when you're in a hardship, when you're in financial hardship, because they're just trying to get as much money out of you as possible, which I would assume a lot of you have probably maybe had a balance or a limit come down to your balance. If maybe you missed a payment and all of a sudden the rate went up to 25, 30%. Or your limit came down to your balance, which puts you into a really precarious and bad situation, because now your other creditors will start noticing that you have maxed out credit cards, and they'll start lowering the limits down to the balances. So the results aren't guaranteed, but as a company, we actually don't get paid until we provide results. So from a company standpoint, it would be a terrible business model for us to go through the process of getting you into a program where we only get paid once we actually provide results and not get the actual results. So it does work. The process works, and it's for a specific type of person. And like I said before in that first question I answered for Fausto, it's for someone who is in those three situations. They don't have any money left over at the end of the month when they're done paying their bills, so they can't pay more towards their debts. They don't have any money in savings where they can't pay towards the debt, right? And they don't foresee any increase in income. And that's who the perfect person is for debt settlement. If you're in that situation, it's a great process for you. It's a great strategy for you, whether it's our company that helps you out or another debt settlement company. If you aren't in those situations, look at those other things you want to avoid so you don't have to use a debt settlement process. So I really hope that helped you out, Jimmy. Again, like I said to Fausto, and like I say to all of you, if you have other questions, feel free to email us at info@smartdebtrelief.com or give us a call. And I'll put that in the phone number and the information. You can also text us. So, okay, let's see here. We're on the third question. Let's see here. Make sure that this is on. Perfect. I have you guys on a different my camera's right here, but it goes to this. So I'm just taking a look at it to make sure it's going. We're at 10 minutes now. Okay, so the next question we have is from Trong. I hope that's right too. Why do I have to go into default to settle? Can I answer that in the first couple questions? But let's talk about that. The reason why you have to go into default is because the credit card companies won't settle. They won't agree to new terms and agreements with you if you're current on your debts, because that's exactly what the credit card companies want you to do. If you're in a situation where you can only afford minimum payments, or you're struggling to afford minimum payments, or you're robbing Peter to pay Paul just to keep up with your minimum payments, that's exactly where the credit card companies want you, because they want you to keep making those payments forever. In a lot of my content, I talk about the minimum payment warning. If you just go onto one of your actual statements, it actually shows you in the statement, hey, by making this minimum payment, it's going to take me this long. It's unbelievable sometimes. Sometimes it says 35 years to pay off this debt, and it's a $6,000 debt, and you're making $210 in minimum payments, and it's going to take 6 years to pay off. You're literally paying 4 times the amount of what you actually borrowed just to pay off that debt if you continue just making minimum payments. That's why debt settlement is an option that could get you out of debt in 3 to 4 years. Of course, you go through the credit struggles, but you have the ability to rebuild once you get out of the debts. That's the key, is getting out of the debts and starting fresh and learning new habits to where you don't get back into these high debt situations where it's overwhelming for you. So do I have to go into default to settle? Yes. It's leverage. Anything in life is all about leverage when it comes to getting a different result. The credit card companies hold all the leverage when you just continue to keep making minimum payments, because they won't do anything. They want you to keep doing that forever, like I just said. So when you actually default on the debt, that's the only way the credit card companies will put your account into a settlement process where you can pay less than what you currently owe to get out of the debts in those 3 to 4 years. So that is the answer for you. If you have any other questions on that, Trong, feel free to email us again. Let's see here. Next question's from Ryan. I need to get glasses. I do. Why do the creditors keep calling me when they know I'm in the program? Great question. It kind of, all these will kind of go back to the same thing. The credit card companies want you to keep making minimum payments forever. So especially in that first 2, 3, 4 months when you're in the process and you've gone into default, credit card companies send out, they get trained by psychologists. They want you to feel bad for falling behind and owing the debt. So if they call you on the phone and you decide to answer, which I'm not going to tell you not to answer or not, I just know that the process works better when you don't answer the phone. When the creditors call, just block the numbers or whatever it may be. But if you do answer, they're going to make you feel bad about owing the debt. They're going to try to get you back into that minimum payment cycle. They're maybe even say, hey, listen, we'll give you 2 months off to catch up and then start paying us again. Well, unless you have that increase in income coming up in the near future, which we talked about earlier, that 2 months is never going to help you. It's just going to, give you a reprieve for that 2 months. But then you're going to get back into this stressful situation of, trying to make these minimum payments over and over again. So the credit card companies, especially in the first couple months, will call to try to get you back into that minimum payment cycle. We explain everything to you. When you get into the program, we actually have videos when you go through the first part of the process that explain exactly what you need to say. If you do answer the phone, we will definitely be with you and coach you through that process, because it's not fun, and I'm not telling you it is. But the big picture in mind is the goal of getting out of debt in that 3 to 4 years, and it's just part of the process, and it's part of the strategy. You just got to understand that these people don't know you personally. Don't take it personally. They're going to say things that are not fun, and the reality is you just got to get through the process to get to the end of the goal. So credit card phone calls, I think it's fairly easy when you actually start realizing you're saving thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. If you're in a financial hardship by going through debt settlement, those calls will be super easy to take care of and either block or not even answer the phone. So thank you, Ryan, for that question. Let's see here. I'm at 15 minutes here, so we're on track here. The next question I have here is from Mark. I looked online and the tax implication stuff scared me. What's that about? Okay, what is that about, Mark? Okay. If you look at anything when it comes to debt settlement, you're going to see a lot of, depending what you're looking for, a lot of pros about it, and there's a lot of cons about it. Well, when a credit card company, say you owe a credit card company $10,000, and let's say that they settle that debt for $4,000, right? There's a difference there of $6,000 that's considered a canceled debt that the credit card company can send to you as a 1099 as income. So that's $6,000 in income in the year that it was canceled. It sounds scary, but there is an IRS Form 982 that allows you, if you are an exact candidate, if you're a candidate for debt settlement where you don't, like I said before, have money left over at the end of the month, we're good, sorry. Where you don't have money left over at the end of the month, you don't have any money in savings, and you don't foresee any increase in income, the likelihood is that you're going to be insolvent, meaning that your assets are outweighed by your liabilities. So if you're in that situation, IRS Form 982, and you're going to want to discuss this with a tax consultant, will allow you to actually, those are forgiven debts towards you. You're not going to be able to be taxed on them. But let's talk about the worst case scenario. Let's say that you are solvent, where your assets outweigh your liabilities, right? The process is a 3 to 4 year period of time, okay? You're not going to be settling all your debt in the first year. It's going to take 2, 3 years, 4 years to get to that process of settling your debt. So let's just say, for instance, it was just $10,000 in debt over a 3-year period of time. There's a difference there if we settle everything for $4,000 of $6,000. You have your own tax, your tax, I can't think of the word right now. Well, that's crazy. You have the, some people pay 15% tax, some people pay 40% taxes, whatever it may be, right? You're just paying on that as income. So if you're solvent and you have $6,000 in income, you're paying your tax breaks. So like say it's 15 or 20%, you're gonna be paying $1,200 in taxes in the period of time over that 3-4 year period of time. That's $300-400 a year. The reality is at that point, it's still saving you a tremendous amount of money compared to staying in that minimum payment cycle of the next 15, 20, 25 years. So I hope that helped you out there, Mark. If you have more questions on that, feel free to call us or email us. That'll be all in the information. I said that earlier too. So let's see here. We have Jaden. Jaden, how much money do I need to settle my accounts? It's a very broad question. I'm not sure if you're in the process already or if... okay, so you have to be behind on the debts to settle your debts. So if you're in a situation where you're behind already, and you want to do something like this on your own, personally what I would do is, let's say I'm 3 or 4 months behind on the debt, I would contact the creditor. Let's say it's that same $10,000 debt. If I have $2,000 or $3,000, I'm going to contact that creditor and say, hey, listen, I have $2,000 right now. These credit card companies actually know that you have other credit cards too, because they can do soft inquiries on your credit. They can, the part of the situation when you signed up for it, they have the ability to do a soft inquiry to make sure that, to see how you're doing financially on your credit report. So if you're maxed out on some of your cards like we talked about before, they may lower the limit down to the balance and raise the interest rate because you become a high risk, okay? So let's say you have, a couple credit cards, one of them's $10,000. You call them and say, hey, listen, I have $2,000. I want to settle with you right now. That's what I could pay you. If you don't take it, I'm just going to call another creditor that I have and I'm going to offer that to them. Sometimes they take it, but sometimes it goes through the process where you have to call them 2, 3, 4, or 5 times, which is why companies like us exist, right? It's not just a one-shot time. Sometimes it is. Let me say that once. Sometimes it is, but usually it's not. Usually it's a process of negotiating with them to get that lowest balance paid off, to get that the least amount possible for that account. So, I would call them with 20%, 15-20% of that balance and see if you can settle that account if you're trying to do that on your own. Okay? Hope that answered your question, Jaden. I know it maybe not be specific. I know it wasn't a specific question there. Let's see the next one from Maureen. Why do you charge a fee to settle my accounts? Well, we are a profit company. We charge anywhere between 20 and 25% of the total balance enrolled. We cannot collect any type of fee until we actually provide a result. In 2009, 2010, the Federal Trade Commission stepped into the debt relief industry because there was a lot of debt companies taking money up front and not providing results, which of course left a bad taste in the industry and a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths, which is terrible. So the industry was stepped in by the Federal Trade Commission to set up a no advance fee agreement, meaning we have to actually, as a debt settlement company, do all of our marketing, do everything up front, pay for it up front before we actually settle accounts. So, your guys are in these, I would assume that your first account will probably be settled in the first 3 to 4 months, but they're usually smaller accounts. So we have to be able to actually stay in business, have the finances to do that, but then also, we don't get our fee until we actually provide results. That's huge for a consumer. It's huge for you guys. If you're in a situation where, you want to do it on your own, I do have a video on my YouTube and also on my Facebook that shows how to settle your accounts on your own. I'll put a link to that in this so you can actually go through that. It's a process. It's a very, I say it's simple. It's not easy. Simple is different. It's like, okay, here's the steps. This is what I do. And if you have questions on that, feel free to email me at chris@smartdebtrelief.com and I can help you out with that. The reality is I would like to steer people away, find out the situations where they don't have to use our service and they don't have to settle their accounts, right? But I know a lot of people are already in the situations where they need the help. So if you want to do it on your own, again, I have that video on our Facebook and YouTube. I'll put the link in here in the video. If not, you can use a company like ours or any other company. We all charge, the industry average is about 20 to 25%, and you just want to make sure you're dealing with a company that's going to charge it after they get results. Thank you, Maureen, for that question. Okay, 1 second. Sorry, I got 1 second. Sorry about that. I'm going to have to actually go. This is the last question. I have someone just rescheduled for an appointment here at noon, so I'll answer the other questions on next Thursday. But here's the last question. Let's see here, from Carla. Does this show on my public records? It does not. So the only thing that shows in your public records when it comes to this would be like a bankruptcy, a Chapter 7 or a Chapter 13. There's a lot of things out there to talk bad about bankruptcy. Bankruptcy is a great option. Chapter 7 bankruptcy is probably the best option for someone who's in overwhelming credit card debts. The reality is, a lot of people have homes, a lot of people have assets where you go through a bankruptcy or a Chapter 7 and sometimes you're giving up assets, which is not a good situation. Now, I believe that settlement is better than Chapter 13. You're going to want to do your due diligence. Chapter 13 is where a court-appointed trustee comes into your life and looks at your situation, says, this is what you can afford, this is what you can't afford. With that settlement, you have the ability of kind of like looking at your situation to see, okay, I can afford this. It's a lot better situation, personally, I believe. But again, you guys got to do your due diligence, but debt settlement does not show up on your public records. The only people that know about you being in a program would be you, us, and your creditors. But that doesn't show up on your public records at all. So thank you very much for all the questions. I have another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have about 10 more questions. Unfortunately, I got to get on to a call here in the next 15 minutes or so. I'll answer those questions next Thursday. If you have other questions, feel free to email us at info@smartrelief.com. We'll answer all the questions for you on next Thursday. Thank you for watching and hope you guys have a great rest of your day.